from dragging Tommy Fury from the sidelines to have to eat up his words as he watched him win. Logan Paul's trash talk failed miserably, and many people, including Nate Diaz, didn't respond well to his comments. Starting off, what did Paul say in the first place? It seems like all the previous insults that led up to the match weren't enough, because the older Paul brother felt the need to derail Fury even as the match was taking place, and that too on a microphone, which meant that Fury could hear him loud and clear. I don't know, man. Forget my opponent, I'd jump from that ring and throw hands at whoever had the audacity. There had been a long period of time before the match where both the Paul brothers and Fury did nothing but hurl insults at each other. And even though it looked like there was bad blood between Jake and Fury, they both acknowledged each other's talent and gave credit to their skills at the end of the game. But the 27-year-old wasn't done saying his piece yet. He was interviewed ringside by the host after the third round finished. As Fury was leading the fight, it didn't sit right with Logan, who flung sportsmanship out the window and went on a vicious X-rated rant aimed at Fury. And he didn't just stop at him, but went out of his way to insult his entire family. His comments weren't very well taken, as British broadcaster BT Sport had to apologize on screen for his inappropriate language. They were also criticized by the commentators. Since the pair were involved in a tense battle, Logan's comments were extremely unnecessary. And that's not all. Logan also caught the attention of Nate Diaz with his inconsiderate remarks. I know one influencer he'd like to get his hands on. Now, here's the thing. I'm all for a good mid-match drama, but it's not really fair if there's just one person spewing bloody murder on the other. If there's gonna be screaming, I'd much rather hear the other side defend themselves. And that's what former UFC MMA artist Nate Diaz thinks too. He wasn't impressed with Logan's antics at all. And after the match, he took to Twitter to slam the influencer on his little speech. Calling him obnoxious and spoiled, he said that someone needed to give him a beating. It also didn't sit right with him that he was allowed to deliver his thoughts mid-game. If there's one thing this fight taught me, it's to not count my chickens before they hatch. It's pretty embarrassing for him. Not to mention, he's gained a lot of disapproval from his unprofessionalism. And as if his previous reputation wasn't enough, there's one more thing to add to his "Why We Don't Like Logan Paul" record. But don't go too harsh on him. It wasn't long before Logan regretted his outburst. The older Paul brother had to watch Fury take the win by a split decision.
For the winner by split decision, Tommy TNT Fury.
The biggest win of Tommy Fury's young career. The grudge match is won by Tommy Fury.
Talk about manifesting going wrong. The fight was, without a doubt, one of the most anticipated fights of the year, and had a lot of hype surrounding it, considering both Paul and Fury's reputations, with Paul having a large following due to his previous YouTube career, and Fury being a reality TV star. They're both pretty famous with younger audiences. Not to mention, Tommy is Tyson Fury's younger half-brother, and while being a heavyweight champion sibling may come with its pros, it sure has its cons to consider. The stakes were extremely high for the 23-year-old, and with the two constantly going out of their way to disrespect the other, with Jake Paul even going as far as to mock his opponent's newborn daughter, tempers were reaching the sky. But Fury, who had been threatened to be disowned, didn't fail to deliver. Even though it was a close match, in the end, Tommy had more strikes than the YouTube personality. Since his entire career was on the line, he entered the ring more aggressively than usual. As for Logan's insults and mockery, they did more damage than help his brother, since it only spurred Fury on and made him even more determined to silence them all once and for all. So, would it have been better if Logan had decided to just be an audience member on the sidelines, for both the sake of his reputation reputation and his brother's match? That's not to say it was an easy win though. Jake delivered. Like I said before, it was definitely a close match. Even though Fury entered the ring, arms flailing, the younger Paul brother soon caught up. He even managed to knock Fury down in the last round, throwing him off balance just enough that he hit the deck. But Fury, who seemed more surprised than injured, insisted to the referee that it was just a slip. And even though Fury managed to bag the victory in the end, taking the split decision by 2 cards of 76-73, with one card reading 75-74 for Paul. The match could have gone either way. The bout took place in Saudi Arabia, and with the expectations surrounding the match, not to mention the pent-up aggression leading up to it, it had fighters and fans alike rubbing their hands in excitement. Both fighters had something to prove. Jake Paul, his credibility, and Tommy Fury, his expertise. Paul had recently been under fire for only choosing to compete against MMA fighters and boasting wins against them. With a 6-0 record, he was yet to fight against a proper boxer and secure himself as someone to look out for. And even though he lost, has he really? What do I mean? Well, Paul had already thought of what would happen if he lost, and had a plan set in motion way before the match. Yep, there's a rematch clause. Is that smart? Or like admitting defeat before even stepping in the ring? I'll let you decide that. Either way, Paul fully intends on taking it up, and he's called for a rematch. You already know the rivals weren't gonna end the match without some classic cliff-hanging drama. Right after the fight, Paul acknowledged Fury's talent and congratulated him on his victory. But immediately after that praise, he said that he didn't agree with the scorecards, especially after his knockout in the last round. He deserved a rematch. All my respect to Tommy. He won. Don't judge me by my wins, judge me by my losses. He also explained his shortcomings in the match, saying that he'd faced some problems while training. According to him, he had fallen ill twice in the camp and had also injured his arm, which was why it wasn't his best performance. Excuses aside, the fight titled The Truth will be seeing part 2, and Fury is totally up for it. So maybe it's way too early to diss Logan on his insults. Who knows? Maybe Jake will make a comeback in the next match. Either way, Logan should have known better, and it's not just Nate Diaz who thinks so. Skip Bayless even went as far as to blame him for Jake's loss. Damn. After the fight, Bayless took to Twitter to hold Logan accountable. He said he believes Paul's callout cost his brother that fight with Fury. He may have dissed Fury's entire lineage, but it was at his brother's expense. He also added that even though Jake held out pretty well in the ring, Fury won the punching stats, and a rematch won't be easy to win either. Before the fight took place, the two brothers were filming themselves as they got to stand inside the ring, and Logan wasn't satisfied until he'd escalated the tension further. Someone better take the mic away from him before he cost Jake his rematch too. That's all Nate Diaz had to say about Logan Paul's rude comments towards Tommy Fury.